I jump into the sea to save Terrence Fletcher. After giving him CPR in front of everyone, the engagement meant for my cousin, Anna Stone, unexpectedly becomes mine. However, Terrence gets drunk on our wedding night instead of spending it with me. I naively believe that if I stay by his side long enough, he'll eventually open his heart to me. 3 years later, Anna returns with a child who bears a striking resemblance to Terrence, leaving me stunned. That's when I realized he had been with her on the night. He left me alone in our bridal suite. Annie, I'm sorry for everything you've gone through all these years. I'll take responsibility. I'll make Mabel understand that her place is yours. I tell Terrence that I'm pregnant as well, hoping it will rekindle his love. But his response makes my blood run cold. Get rid of it. I'm forced onto the operating table, where 2 lives end at once. When I open my eyes again, I'm back on the day Terrence falls into the sea. As I see him drenched to the bone, I turn to the crowd and call out for Anna. Terrence Fletcher opened his eyes in pain, coughing up mouthfuls of water. His voice was hoarse when he snapped, "Get lost." But when he saw clearly who was in front of him, he suddenly froze. "Annie? Why is it you?" He looked around and spotted me in the corner. I was just as drenched as he was. In my previous life, I had jumped into the sea without hesitation to save Terrence. But when he gained consciousness, he had pushed me away, looking at me with sheer disgust in his eyes. He had someone bring him a towel and a bottle of water. Then, in front of everyone, he had rinsed his mouth and wiped his lips as if he had been contaminated. But now, "Terrence, I'm so relieved to see you're okay." Anna Stone knelt beside him, her face a mix of concern and shyness. She hesitated before deliberately covering her lips with her hand. Terrence understood her unspoken message and chose to stay silent. He simply allowed Anna to help him stand. Without sparing me a glance, he left with her. I knew Terrence had been drugged, which had caused him to lose his balance and fall into the sea. In my previous life, he had quickly found out who was behind it. Therefore, there was no need for me to step in and remind him. The seawater had been freezing, and that night, I came down with a fever. There was a knock on my door. My mind was hazy, but the moment I opened the door and saw Terrence, I snapped wide awake. "What are you doing here?" Terrence leaned against the doorframe, giving me a cool glance. "Mabel, what kind of stunt are you pulling this time?" I looked at him in confusion. "I don't know what you're talking about." He let out a cold, mocking laugh. "In front of all those people, you deliberately called Annie over to give me CPR. Why didn't you do it yourself? How can you be so selfish?" I felt a tight knot in my chest, as if something heavy was pressing down on me. I wanted to confront him. "Then what do you want from me? Rescuing you was a mistake, and reaching out to your beloved was even worse. Perhaps I should have let you drown in the sea." Those were the words I wanted to say, but instead, I said, "Think whatever you want. If there's nothing more, I'd like to rest now. I'm not feeling well." My voice was steady yet low as I sniffed slightly. Terrence probably thought I was just putting on a show to gain his sympathy. His lips curled into a faint, mocking smile. "Playing the victim now? Mabel, you never stop, always coming up with new tricks. If you're not feeling well, take some medicine. It's not like I'm a doctor." As I watched him walk away down the hallway, I let out a long, weary sigh. Everyone in Newport's social circle knew how much I liked Terrence. I liked him with a kind of quiet desperation, stubborn and pathetic all at once. He once said he liked long, straight hair, so I kept mine that way since childhood and never changed it. He said light-colored clothes looked nice, so not a single dark piece had appeared in my wardrobe since. He liked women who were quiet and graceful, so I turned down invitations from friends. I simply stayed home to practice piano, chess, literature, and painting. It took the harsh lessons of my past life for me to finally understand. Anna naturally met all his criteria, not because she tried, but because he genuinely loved her. Hence, no matter how much I changed or how hard I worked, I would never gain his attention. News soon spread that Anna had given Terrence CPR. The cruise party was hosted by the Fletcher family. After Terrence's accident, panic spread rapidly through the ship. Soon, a few men in security uniforms knocked on my door. "Miss Stone, we need you to cooperate with the investigation." I was told that since I was the first to discover Terrence had fallen into the sea, I was now the prime suspect. I was puzzled, but I saved him. One of the guards gave me an apologetic look. "Mr. Fletcher said we can't rule out the possibility that you staged the whole thing to make him feel indebted to you." I was completely stunned. So Terrence thought I was intentionally trying to make him feel indebted to me. The guards dragged me to a utility room on the lower deck. They locked the door, ignoring my protests and my warnings about the legality of their actions. "Mr. Fletcher said he'll take full responsibility," someone said. "He ordered that you're not to be released until the truth is confirmed." I was locked away for a full day and night, burning with fever and without water. Eventually, I passed out. In my daze, I felt strong arms lifting me. When I woke up, I was back in my room. I had no idea who had saved me, but I soon learned Terrence had taken care of the situation. After the cruise docked, he personally escorted Anna back to the Stone residence. When I arrived, I overheard Terrence declare, "Annie performed CPR on me and saved my life, so naturally I should repay her. Let's proceed with making the engagement official." My steps faltered. Even though I had already made up my mind to give up on Terrence in this lifetime, hearing those words still stung. He viewed Anna as his savior. But if it had been me, he would have thought that I had ulterior motives. In my previous life, words that I saved his life had eventually reached my parents, Benjamin Stone and Elizabeth Carver. They had taken it upon themselves to approach the Fletcher family, and only then had Terrence reluctantly agreed to marry me. When I walked in, Anna gave me a troubled look. "I don't know if this is a good idea, Uncle Benjamin, Aunt Elizabeth," she said softly. "Terrence is the one Mabel likes. I saved Terrence without expecting anything in return, but I'd hate to see Mabel get hurt." Terrence walked toward the doorway, blocking me. Before my parents could reply, he said, "Since you've heard everything, I might as well make it clear. Mabel, I don't like you. No matter how hard you try, it's pointless. The sooner you give up, the better for both of us." Don't worry," I replied softly. "I won't bother you or Anna again. I hope you're happy together." Terrence narrowed his eyes slightly, fixing me with an intense and probing gaze. Mom sighed behind me. "Oh, you silly girl. If only you had come around sooner. When your dad and I start setting you up on dates, you better not reject them again." I tried my best to ignore Terrence's penetrating gaze and smiled as I nodded. "All right." Ever since the engagement was set, Terrence had been visiting the Stone residence more often. In the past, just catching a glimpse of him had been next to impossible. I had to rely on his friends to figure out where he might be. Even when they had made fun of me for being so desperate, I had stayed silent. Now, I'd seen him more in these past couple of weeks than I had all of last year. However, I couldn't feel the slightest bit happy about it. Anna always pretended to be generous, but she was clearly boasting when she said, "Mabel, these roses are from Terrence. Would you like one? This necklace as well. He had it custom-made overseas. Want to borrow it for a while? He's given me so many things that I can't possibly wear them all." I couldn't help but recall that in my previous life, even our wedding rings were bought by me. As I drifted off in thought, Anna suddenly yanked the necklace. It snapped. The pearls scattered across the floor, rolling to a stop at the edge of a pair of black leather shoes. "Terrence," she cried out, throwing herself at him with a wounded look. Then she glanced at me and said, "Mabel didn't mean to do it. I'm sure it was an accident. Please don't blame her. It's my fault for not taking better care of your gift." Terrence was visibly upset. "Mabel, you always act so well-behaved in front of your parents. But now that they're away on a business trip, the real you comes out, huh?" he added. "You've been picking on Annie since you were kids. Are you still not tired of it?" A bitter taste filled my mouth. "I didn't do it," I retorted slowly. Anna immediately lowered her head. "Terrence, it's all my fault. I was wrong." Terrence stepped protectively in front of her. He said in a warning tone, "I used to stay out of the Stone family's affairs, but Annie is now my fiancée. I'll be staying here until your parents return." In the past, I would have been thrilled to live under the same roof as him. Seeing that I stayed silent, Terrence paused, then reminded me, "Watch yourself. Keep your distance from me. I don't want Annie to get the wrong idea." That night, Anna playfully asked him to dry her hair, deliberately making a big show of it so I'd notice. As I walked past, I didn't so much as pause. Terrence didn't react either. But the next day, when he saw I'd cut my hair short, he looked at me with a mix of amusement and teasing. "Did you cut it because of me?" "No, you're overthinking it. Even if last night didn't happen, I had already booked the haircut in advance." Terrence clearly didn't believe me. His eyes swept over me from head to toe. "You should know I don't like women with short hair. If this is some stunt to get my attention, it's a pretty stupid one." I ignored him and went back to my room and changed into a red dress I hadn't worn in ages. Its bold color was striking and attention-grabbing. When I walked out, Terrence was leaning against the railing. He cast me a glance that was neither welcoming nor dismissive. However, I noticed his grip tighten around the railing, the veins on the back of his hand bulging. Just then, Anna hugged him from behind. "Terrence, Mabel's changed so much lately. Do you think she's still upset? Maybe she hasn't forgiven us for getting engaged." Terrence looked away. "Let her act out all she wants. Once she realizes her little trick doesn't work, she'll go back to her old self." I left without looking back, and met the date my mom had set up for me at a cafe. It was supposed to be our first time meeting, yet it felt like we'd known each other for years. The conversation flowed easily. We really hit it off. That evening, I came home humming a tune. To my surprise, I found Terrence on the living room couch, hunched over and seeming to be in pain. We had been married for 3 years in my previous life. I knew he suffered from a serious stomach condition. He was probably forcing himself to sit there so Anna wouldn't worry. Initially, I hadn't planned on getting involved, but I was in a good mood. Besides, I didn't want anything to happen to him in my house, as it would reflect badly on my parents. After a brief hesitation, I said, "The medicine kit is in the second drawer of the white cabinet." Terrence glanced up, his eyes meeting mine. He stayed where he was, probably thinking I would get it for him. His lips curled into a subtle, teasing smile. "What now, Mabel?" he sneered. "Trying to use this as another chance to make me feel indebted?" I turned and walked back to my room before he could say more. I didn't notice him stiffening slightly, or the way his eyes darkened. For a few days, everything had been peaceful. That was, until Terrence barged into my room, his face twisted with rage. Throwing a piece of lace lingerie at me, he asked, "Mabel, how can you be this cheap?" I stood frozen, feeling utterly shocked. Instinctively, I grabbed and stared at it. It was undeniably mine. Shame washed over me. What's that supposed to mean?" he sneered. "For a second, I actually thought you were over me. Turns out you're just playing hard to get," he continued, "acting like you don't care, but secretly leaving your lingerie on my bed to seduce me? Are you really that desperate for a man?" I rushed to explain. "There has to be some kind of mistake. I didn't." "Spare me the excuses, Mabel. You honestly disgust me." He looked at me with pure disappointment in his eyes. He took Anna by the hand and strode out. "I'm taking Annie back to the Fletcher residence. When we meet next, keep in mind that I am her husband." Their wedding date had been set. Since Anna didn't have many friends in Newport, my parents asked me to be her bridesmaid. They returned just in time for the wedding. Holding my hand, they spoke with heartfelt sincerity. "Annie's getting married. If your Uncle Jeffrey and Aunt Alice could see this, they'd be at peace. Now it's just you left." I touched the couple's bracelet on my right wrist, my cheeks growing warm. I'm seeing someone too." Mom looked surprised. "Since when? Where did he come from? You didn't even make it to the date we arranged for you." I was puzzled, wondering who on earth I had met and talked to that day. Terrence overheard the conversation and smirked mockingly. He probably didn't take it seriously, assuming I was just making things up. However, when he noticed my unwavering confidence, his brow furrowed slightly, and a hint of irritation flashed in his eyes. Later, when no one was around, Terrence cornered me at the bathroom entrance and whispered, "If you can control your fantasies, I'll treat you like I used to, like a younger sister. I'll even spend time with you sometimes." I looked him in the eye and replied seriously, "I have a boyfriend now. I'm not going to cling to you anymore." Terrence scoffed and grabbed my wrist. "Then tell me, why does your bracelet have the letter T engraved on it? Isn't that my initial?" "It's not." Nearby, Anna observed the unfolding scene, jealousy burning in her eyes, a hint of resentment flickering within them. Just before the ceremony began, chaos broke out backstage. The bride's wedding dress had been cut haphazardly, and there was a long slash on it. On the vanity mirror, the words "Drop Dead" were written in red lipstick. Anna sobbed miserably. Once everyone rushed over to comfort her, her eyes locked straight onto mine. "Mabel, I know you've liked Terrence for nearly 10 years, but you can't blame me just because you couldn't have him. You were fine with the engagement when it was announced. So why are you trying to ruin the wedding I've been dreaming of?" The room erupted. Everyone knew how hard I had pursued Terrence, so if anyone had a motive, it would most likely be me. Terrence burst in after hearing the noise. Anna collapsed into his arms, crying as she spoke. "Terrence, maybe I should give you back to Mabel. I don't even dare to imagine what else she might do." Terrence slapped me hard across the face. Although it wasn't the first time he had humiliated me in public, it was the first time he had been so angry that he hit me. I looked at his furious expression, and my emotions faded quietly. "Terrence, have you never, even once, been willing to believe me? You think you deserve that?" He looked down at me coldly as I fell to the floor, his voice cruel and merciless. "If you insist on being shameless, then don't blame me for showing no mercy." He then addressed the room. "I'll explain everything to Mr. and Mrs. Stone. Go ahead and do as I say." He ordered his groomsmen to tear my dress and to scrawl "bitch" on my face with lipstick. He claimed to punish me the same way I had supposedly bullied Anna. I screamed, cried, and fought with all my strength, but it didn't stop them. Then a cold, commanding voice exclaimed, "Enough!" A pair of familiar arms lifted me off the floor. I buried my face against the man's chest, trembling. I vaguely heard Terrence's voice become low and irritated as he asked, "Who are you? What's your relationship with Mabel?" The man holding me was tall, with broad shoulders that shielded me from the glaring eyes of the crowd. He smelled of sandalwood and rain, a scent that instantly calmed the panic clawing at my throat. "I asked you a question," Terrence snapped, his voice sharp with irritation. He stepped forward, his eyes darting between me and the stranger. "Who do you think you are, barging into my wedding?" The man looked at Terrence with eyes colder than the deep sea. "I'm the man she was supposed to meet on that date you scoffed at. I'm Theodore Vance." A hush fell over the room. The name Vance carried weight in Newport, old money, immense power, and a reputation for ruthlessness in business. But to me, he was just Theo, the man who had listened to me talk about piano sonatas for hours in that cafe. Vance. Terrence's sneer faltered for a second, but his arrogance quickly returned. So you're the boyfriend. I assume you don't know who she really is. This woman is a manipulator who just destroyed her cousin's wedding dress out of jealousy. Theo looked down at me. His gaze wasn't accusing, it was searching. Did you do it, Mabel? My cheeks stung where Terrence had slapped me. My dress was torn, my dignity in shreds. I looked up at Theo, my eyes burning with unshed tears. No. I swear I didn't. Theo nodded once. He turned back to Terrence. She says she didn't do it. That's good enough for me. Are you blind? Anna shrieked from Terrence's arms, her sobbing act forgotten in her indignation. Look at the dress. Look at the lipstick. Who else would do this? She's been obsessed with Terrence for years. Theo didn't even look at her. He addressed Terrence calmly. If you touch her again, Mr. Fletcher, I won't just ruin your wedding. I'll dismantle your company piece by piece. He turned and carried me out of the room. I buried my face in his coat, leaving the chaos, the accusations, and the man I had once loved more than life itself behind me. Theo took me to his car, a sleek black sedan parked right outside the venue. He helped me into the passenger seat and handed me a handkerchief. Wipe your face, he said gently. The lipstick doesn't suit you. I scrubbed at the word bitch scrawled on my cheek, my hands shaking. Why did you help me? Everyone in there thinks I'm a monster. Theo started the car. Because I saw the security footage. I froze. What? I arrived early to pick you up. I saw your cousin sneaking into the dressing room 20 minutes ago with a pair of scissors, Theo explained, his eyes focused on the road. I was coming to find you when I heard the commotion. You saw her? A laugh bubbled up in my throat, hysterical and broken. Terrence didn't even check. He didn't ask. He just hit me. He's a fool, Theo said simply. Where do you want to go? Your parents' place. No. Iwi sparat. If I go home like this, they'll ask questions. I can't handle their pity right now. Or their doubt. Then you'll come with me. Theo took me to his apartment, a minimalist penthouse overlooking the city. He gave me a clean shirt to wear and made me tea. I'm sorry, I said, sitting on his couch feeling small. I dragged you into a mess. You didn't drag me anywhere I didn't want to go, Theo replied, sitting opposite me. Mabel, why do you let them treat you like that? I looked into my tea. I used to think love meant endurance. That if I just took the pain, eventually he'd see how much I cared. And now, I said looking up at him, I realize love shouldn't hurt. And I'm done enduring. My phone buzzed. It was a text from my mother. Mabel, where did you go? Terrence is furious. Anna is inconsolable. Please come back and apologize so the wedding can continue. I stared at the screen. Apologize. Even my own mother assumed I was guilty. I'm not going back, I told Theo. Not today. Not ever to that life. The next morning, the scandal was front-page news. Wedding chaos. Jealous cousin destroys dress, flees with mystery billionaire. Terrence had spun the narrative perfectly. I was the villain. Anna was the victim. But Theo had a surprise. I sent the security footage to your parents, he told me over breakfast. And to the Fletcher family. My heart skipped a beat. You did what? The truth is out, Mabel. Whether they choose to believe it or bury it is up to them. But at least you're cleared. My phone rang. It was my father. I hesitated, then answered. Mabel, his voice was shaking. Is it true? The video? Yes, Dad. Why didn't you tell us? Why did you let us believe? Because you didn't ask. I cut him off, my voice trembling. Just like Terrence, you assumed I was the problem. You always assume I'm the problem when it comes to Anna. Silence on the other end. Then a heavy sigh. Come home, Mabel. We need to talk. I went home, but not alone. Theo insisted on driving me. When we walked into the Stone residence, the atmosphere was funereal. My parents were sitting on the couch looking pale. Terrence and Anna were there too. Anna's eyes were red and puffy, but fear flickered in them when she saw me. Mabel. My mother stood up, reaching for me. Oh honey, we saw the video. Anna, she framed me. I finished for her. I looked at Anna. Why? Anna burst into tears. I was scared. Terrence kept looking at you. Even with your short hair, even when you ignored him. He was watching you. I just wanted to make him hate you forever so he wouldn't leave me. Terrence stood by the window, his back stiff. He turned to look at me, and for the first time in 2 lifetimes, I saw regret in his eyes. You didn't do it, he said, his voice hollow. I hit you for nothing. You hit me because you wanted to believe the worst of me. I corrected him. Because it's easier to hate me than to admit you made a mistake choosing her. I can cancel the wedding. Terrence stepped forward, ignoring Anna's gasp. Mabel, if I had known. Stop. I raised my hand. It doesn't matter. I don't want you, Terrence. Not anymore. I reached out and took Theo's hand. I'm with Theo now. Terrence's gaze dropped to our joined hands. His jaw tightened. Vance, you think he loves you? He's just using you to get to me, to humiliate the Fletcher family. Theo laughed, a dry, humorless sound. Mr. Fletcher, you overestimate your importance. I love Mabel because she's the only person in this room with a spine. And unlike you, I don't need to break her to feel like a man. We left. As we walked out the door, I heard Anna sobbing and Terrence shouting at her. It was music to my ears. 2 years passed. Life with Theo was everything my life with Terrence wasn't. It was peaceful. It was respectful. And it was filled with a quiet, burning passion that I had never known existed. I pursued my music again. I opened a small piano school. Theo supported me in everything, attending every recital, cheering the loudest. We got engaged on a quiet beach in Bali. No drama, no audience. Just us. Meanwhile, news of the Fletcher Stone marriage was grim. They had gone through with the wedding, mostly to save face, but it was a disaster. Terrence was cold and distant. Anna became paranoid and controlling. Rumors swirled that Terrence spent his nights at bars, drunk, muttering a name that wasn't his wife's. One rainy afternoon, I was closing up the studio when a ragged figure appeared at the door. It was Terrence. He looked terrible. Gaunt, unshaven, smelling of whiskey. Mabel, he rasped. Please, talk to me. You should go home to your wife, Terrence, I said, locking the piano lid. I have no home. He slammed his hand against the wall. She's crazy, Mabel. She checks my phone, she follows me. She's not you. I made a mistake. God, I made such a mistake. He stumbled toward me, grabbing my shoulders. It's always been you. I know that now. In the ocean. When I opened my eyes. I was looking for you. But she was there, and I got confused. Please, give me another chance. I remember now. I froze. You remember what? The past, he whispered, his eyes frantic. The dreams. I have dreams of another life. We were married. You were pregnant. I killed our child. I killed you. My blood ran cold. He was remembering the previous timeline. I wake up screaming, he sobbed, sliding down to his knees. I see your face on that operating table. Mabel, I'm so sorry. I love you. Let me fix it. I looked down at the man who had been the center of my universe for 2 lifetimes. I felt nothing but pity. You can't fix a dead thing, Terrence, I said softly. That Mabel died on that table. And the Mabel standing here belongs to someone who would never let her die. The door chime jingled. Theo walked in, shaking his umbrella. He took one look at Terrence on the floor and sighed. Calling security? Theo asked me. No need, I said. He was just leaving. Terrence looked at Theo, then at me. He saw the ring on my finger. He saw the way I naturally leaned into Theo's space. The realization broke him completely. He stood up, swaying. Be happy, Mabel, he choked out. For both lifetimes. He walked out into the rain, a ghost haunting his own life. Terrence didn't go home that night. He drove his car off the coastal highway, into the same sea where our story began. He survived, barely. But he was paralyzed from the waist down. Anna, unable to cope with a disabled husband and a crumbling social status, filed for divorce and left him. She took half his assets and moved abroad. My parents, finally seeing the wreckage of their family politics, retired and moved to the countryside, trying to mend their relationship with me. On my wedding day to Theo, I wore a simple white dress. No grand spectacle. As I walked down the aisle, I thought about the girl who jumped into the sea. I thought about the girl who died on an operating table. And then I looked at Theo, standing at the altar with tears in his eyes, and I smiled. I had saved myself. Not by jumping into the water, but by walking away from it. Do you, Mabel Stone, take Theodore Vance? I do, I said, and for the first time in 2 lives, I truly meant it. 5 years later, I sat on the porch of our beach house, watching a little boy with Theo's eyes chase a golden retriever into the surf. Mommy, Daddy says I can have ice cream. Theo walked up behind me, wrapping his arms around my waist. I said maybe ice cream. I laughed, leaning back against him. Spoiler, he's getting the ice cream. My phone buzzed on the table. It was a news alert. Former tycoon Terrence Fletcher passes away in nursing home at 35. I stared at the headline. He had died alone, bitter and broken. You okay? Theo asked, kissing the top of my head. I swiped the notification away and looked out at the ocean. The water was calm today, glittering in the sunlight. I'm perfect, I said. I stood up, took my husband's hand, and we walked down to the water to join our son. The past was dead. The future was wide open. And the sea, finally, was just water.